Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, welcome back to another high level game. Today in the top right spawning as our blue Zerg player, playing for Team Dragon Phoenix Gaming, it's none other than the Korean GOAT, Rogue. And in the bottom left we have as the yellow Zerg player, playing for Team Ants, it is the other GOAT, it's going to be Serral. Now I know that it's not possible for there to be multiple greatest of all times, but there's a very lively debate in the StarCraft scene currently who actually is the greatest player of all time, and both of these names are mentioned a fair amount. I think you could say that, Rogue winning multiple world championships, being as strong as he is, you can make a good case for him. And same can be said about Serral, of course. The dominance that Serral enjoyed over the past few years and kind of the consistency at which he ranks high in tournaments, I think is almost unparalleled in the history of StarCraft 2. So, kind of curious what you guys have to say about it, but let's just pop straight into this game. ZVZ here on Glittering Ashes. So Serral's taking one hell of a path here with his Overlord, going very far to the right, while we see Rogue just kind of chilling in the middle here. Doesn't care as much about weird Ling run bys towards that far right side. That path isn't completely covered. Serral's going to spot that this is indeed a hatchery first, and thus a relatively standard game here. The cool thing about ZVZ is that there's a lot of available options for both players. 2 base, 3 base, we can do some all-ins, we can do some fake all-ins, we can do some fake all-ins into real all-ins, some real all-ins into fake all-ins, some mutalisks, some roaches. And I think this matchup becomes significantly better once you understand what's going on. So I'm going to try my best to explain it, at least to the best of my ability. Spoken to a lot of Zergs, I play a fair amount of Zerg myself as well, and I think I have at least somewhat of a decent understanding. So we have this Baneling Nest going down right here for Serral, followed up by the Baneling Nest out of Rogue. And both of them are playing with a fast third hatchery. Now, once these first injects pop, we could perhaps see a couple of links being produced, but it's also possible that we just see a few more drones. So we see 3 extra drones here out of Serral. Do note that he's building all the drones from the larva in the natural. He's not actually yet using the larva in the main base. That's because if you want to be building a limited amount of drones, you want them to have the lowest amount of travel distance as possible. Right now we see that Rogue isn't quite doing this. He's just building drones absolutely everywhere. We have 6 links on the way, well 8 links coming out of Serral right now, or is this 6 links coming out of Serral, coming from the main base. This is for safety. It's gonna get an Evo chamber and probably even more of 1 or 2 preemptive Banelings over here. Now this is interesting as we see the layer go down before the first Evo chamber upgrade. This often indicates mutas here, so we don't see anything happening here. We also see that the proper scout denial coming out of Rogue here. So an interesting start. It wouldn't completely surprise me if this would go into +1 melee rather than +1 range attack. So you really go hard into those mutalisks. Ooh, second Evo chamber. Is that? No, that's a Roachhorn actually going down just now. Yeah, it's going to be melee over here. This is actually relatively common if you get that layer before the upgrade. Now, it's pretty tricky to scout for someone like Serral as well, because, you know, the Evo timing is just slightly different. We have a lot of links being built right now, though, by the Finnish Zerg player. Wants to actually start putting on a little bit of pressure. We have 4 Banelings being morphed, 2 of those aggressively, no, 4 of those aggressively. 2 will start running in towards the natural base, most likely. Rogue is going to spot that with this Overlord. Needs to start responding to that as well. There's a lot of links coming across the map. Roachhorn is not quite done yet, and it seems like Rogue is actually going to be evacuating this third base, at least temporarily. There's not enough Banelings here to truly save him from this absolutely insane amount of links that Serral is sending across the map right now. We have the Spire on the way, we see that already. These 3 queens are going to get somewhat surrounded. There's 1 Baneling still. Ooh, it's going to explode on just a single link. That means that these links now have free play. This is going to be a fantastic trade here for Serral, who's droning up behind this. He's up 10 workers, especially after these 3 drones end up finishing up. But his lair is delayed. The Spire is already, well, what is it, 25% done at this point? A little bit more, even 35% done. And we do get a counterattack out of Rogue, which means that he can force out a couple of roaches out of Serral, maybe even get a couple of Banelings to morph, while at the same time already tacking into that mutalisk task. Now, these roaches are not going to be capable of doing anything except just sit back and defend against any Ling Bane run-bys. Serral, however, probably would be wanting to get more queens at this point. Ideally, already would be aware that there is a spire. More drones as well, and even consider starting to take a fort base at this point. We have 10 more drones on the way here for the Finnish player, while only 5 more for Rogue. So Rogue is going to be a little bit behind in the worker count, but that doesn't matter, as Mutalisk often is the much preferred tech choice here in ZVZ. Oh my god, all of these links are just gonna get in though. There's nothing at home, not a single baneling either. These queens could go down, but instead Serral decides to just go straight away for the drones. We have these links, we'll take out a single queen. 3 drones only have fallen so far, but a lot of mining time has been lost, and that is also kind of big. First 8 mutas are on the way, we might see 1 or 2 extra drones fall. Yep, 2 more drones are going to die here. These 2 banelings also start morphing in the corner. I don't quite think that Rogue is aware of that. That's of course a little bit painful. These links will get chased away. Of course, superiorly upgraded Zerglings out of Rogue with that +1 melee means that all of these fights are just going to be going well. Double Pains moving in right now will get some big hits as well. I think that is 10 extra workers that fall there in the pretty much the tail end of this little run by. Infestation Pit, 5 spores, more queens being produced. Rogue is in a little bit of trouble. I think losing those 5 workers wasn't great, but losing 15 workers is absolutely awful. It means that the fort base is going to be very, very delayed. And it also gave Serral a little bit of extra time in which these mutas weren't quite across the map yet. Serral managed to prepare pretty well. He has 6 queens out currently. He has plenty of spores in position. I don't think he's going to be taking too much damage against these initial Mutalisks. The question now is going to be, how will Rogue follow up? I think initially his plan was to follow this up with a quick +2 melee and start doing Link Baneling upgrades. But in order to do that, or Link Bane run-bys. In order to do that, you need a very good eco, and as Rogue has pretty crappy eco, instead he decides to go for the range upgrades here, get the Infestation Pit, get the Hydralisk Den as well, so we will be seeing a switch into some type of lurker versus lurker game. We have Tunneling Claws on the way, as well as Burrow, and Serral was very dangerous with these burrowed roaches. It's one of the things that he's known for, being very strong with. Pneumatized Carapace coming in as well. There's still no fort base here for the Finnish Zerg player. That fort will be earlier for Rogue. Of course, it's really difficult to get a fort base down if your opponent has a bunch of links on the map, has these mutas for complete map control as well. Can just pop out at any time, and there's no real way for Serral to get that anti-air in position. Another spore gets built. Serral seems to be completely preparing here for, in my mind, Link Bane run-bys. These are not quite happening, so he might get caught a little bit off guard. Double lurker then on the way here for Rogue. Look at that. This is going to be Adaptive Talents plus Seismic Spines Rush. And that's the type of strategy that can work. It is going to be relatively timing based, I feel like. There's of course good eco behind it, so it won't be the end of the world if you don't kill it. But Rogue definitely wants to be in control this game, wants to keep the map control no matter what it takes. Ooh, that burrow was a little bit delayed. I feel like that just gives away that you're getting Tunneling Claws though. Yeah, we immediately see an Overseer on the way. I'm not sure if that is for the Tunneling Claw roaches, but showing the burrow like that surely was a mistake out of Serral there. It was not worth saving these 2 banelings, showing off that you had the burrow. See if Rogue is seeing these roaches. I don't think he quite spotted them yet. That is bad for him. We still only have that single Overseer out here. He's just using it to send in a changeling for now. Serral did not spot that. 3 roaches will head in towards the fort base. Now 4 roaches towards the fort base. You have 3 roaches towards this third as well. Now we immediately see these roaches unburrow. A couple of Overseers should be built right away here, as these roaches Tunneling Claws their way out again. Serral sees that there's a 5th base. And with the Overseer also knows exactly what the follow-up is going to be. Seeing that double lurker then, of course, can be a little bit scary. More roaches are going to get sent out. These roaches once again move in. There's no Pneumatized Carapace yet here for this Overseer, which means that catching up with these burrowing roaches will be difficult. 7 workers have gone down so far. A couple more will fall. Serral is actually not in that bad of a position, despite having to play against the Mutalisk, which often is the superior option for the Zerg. I think he's dealt enough damage with initially that Ling run-by, Ling Bane run-by, and now with these roaches that he's actually in a very comfortable position. He still is pretty blind, does not have a lot of map control, but he's also trying to spread an Overlord here and there. There's still roaches on that far right side too, so it's not the end of the world. These roaches actually are going to be spotting this lurker run-by. That is kind of big here. That actually is kind of big. Serral's going to be in position with his own seismic spined lurkers. Oh, if these Vipers were in position, that could have been great. Yep, here we go. Couple of pools. All of these lurkers are going to be dying for basically free. There's still 4 lurkers remaining at the same time. Roach is not going in. Roach is on the left side also not going in. But this might even expose Rogue for a little bit here. Don't forget, he's still down in upgrades as well. He only has +1. No carapace upgrades against 2-1 upgrades. So technically down 2 upgrades here. I love this burrow defense on the drones. Just saying, hey, if I'm burrowed, you can't actually kill me. Now, these links are not going to be able to achieve too much. There's plenty of transfuses available. Too many queens, really, as well. Are the mutas still alive? Yep, we still have 12 mutalisks alive. And finally, these roaches are going to get cleaned up. The right side roaches will get a couple of workers. And these are traits that Serral wants to take anyway. He needs to get rid of the roaches in his army, right? Roaches do not scale well into a late game. As he says, slowly but surely, I'll kind of trickle out these roaches. If I can deal damage with it, that's great. If I can, slightly less great, because you do want to get some value for them. Otherwise, you build them for absolutely nothing, of course. Serral perhaps even considering right now moving out on the map is a real possibility, of course. I mean, he does have the lead in upgrades. He's getting +3 already as well. Still has maybe something of a timing here. Isn't necessarily up in the lurker count, but it's close enough. He also has superior Viper numbers. I think with the better upgrades, with such a large Hydra force as well, 14 Hydras against currently just 1, these Viper wars are always going to be won by Serral as long as the Hydra count remains this small for Rogue. 4 Roach Burrow squad heading towards the far right side. There's actually no detection available here, but there's a couple of units, a couple of spines as well. And an Overseer is morphed rather quickly, so should not be the end of the world. Now, Rogue needs to try to do something similar with the mutas as what Serral's been doing with the roaches. He needs to get rid of them without completely throwing them away, and that's going to be a very difficult task here. Because there's spores everywhere, there's plenty of anti-air here as well with these Vipers, with a lot of the Hydras. See Serral starting to march on the map. Just a lot of dead supply right now in these mutalisks. Serral actually having a very large army already. Add in the fact that there's, what, 20 supply in mutalisks, which aren't really contributing in a fight. That makes the next, well, I want to say minute and a half or so pretty scary. A pretty scary prospect here for Rogue. Just, this army looks massive. There's 5 Vipers out already as well. There's a lot of queens for Serral, which of course got forced by the mutalisks. It's a little bit of supply that Serral won't be having in the fights, but he's only on 65 workers. Only on 65 workers. Lurker count continues growing here for Rogue. He's getting 4 more at this point. That means we're currently up to a total of 15 once these finish up. Serral could be looking to go for a +3, a little bit of a timing, at least try to move towards his opponent's side of the map. Doesn't seem too keen on that yet though. So far actually being very, very patient, very careful with any move outs. We have a triple lurker run by currently, going towards the bottom side of the map. This army is not going to get caught. The lurkers also won't get caught. I'm never quite sure who's catching who in these situations. These lurkers will start marching in towards the natural. Those spines in position, single lurker also in position, but 2 of the lurkers will manage to get in. 1 lurker burrows in the natural, 1 lurker burrows in the main. That means that Serral now needs to do put in a considerable amount of effort to clean this up. We see the entire army moving back, or at least a large portion of the army does get split off here with the Overseer. 5-4 Hydras, single roach. These drones can go back to mining. High ground lurker will also get taken out eventually. Triple lurkers here on the top side will also actually die. And that's painful. That's 6 lurkers total that have gone down. And honestly, not too much in return here for the blue Zerg player. Muta's actually still providing a relatively valuable service in keeping all the overlords off the map. Now we'll try to take out a lurker. We'll not quite succeed in that. And as a result, 2 mutas will end up dying. And we see a dive on top of this army, but obviously that's not very valuable. We have a bigger run by here coming in. These are Serral's changelings, by the way. So seeing this bottom side army move might actually force Rogue to go back home here. That could be bad. very systematically, Serral is making sure that there's no threats currently on the map. I'm not sure if he's playing for anything but map control at this point, though. He's moving back and forth, without any real intention of attacking. It's odd to see. It's like he doesn't really care. A bit of a standoff here. Some trench warfare going on between Rogue and Serral. Now, all of these lurkers are actually going to be dying. It's another 4 lurkers down the drain. Left side lurker will also get taken out. So far, resources lost heavily in favor of the Finnish Zerg player. Oh my god, I love this play. Oh, the Nidus does get spotted. How is this in range of anything? I do believe that the Nidus actually is going to be going down, though. And if there's any lurkers in here, that could spell some trouble. The problem being, of course, that there's no Vipers available with this Nidus. And as a result, it seems like Rogue actually isn't going to be using it whatsoever. Rogue instead uses it to move on the map a little bit, deny some vision on the map, and then just go back home. This is a very big Hydra force. 37 Hydras for Rogue, 7 lurkers and 9 Vipers. Where's all that supply for Serral then? I guess 12 roaches, more queens as well. Just Whalers. Oh my god, this is a great pickup. Takes what? 5, 6 Vipers down here. At the same time though, these parasitic bombs actually putting in some work as well. But that was a great trade. 6 Vipers for 1, and Vipers are really, really expensive. Resources lost continuing to go in a very poor direction here for Rogue, who loses more lurkers here to this little force on the right side. And now it is Serral's turn to start moving forward. That's indeed what he's going to be doing. We have 5 lurkers, 6 Hydras moving towards the far right side. A couple of, what are these? Oh no, these are just changelings that belong to Rogue actually. Serral sends 1 lurker towards the left side again. He's getting a lot of energy, most likely, with some of his Vipers. Yep, also getting healed up by these Queens. Queens actually, once again, providing a good service here. Healing up these Vipers, making sure the buildings don't die against the energy leeching Vipers either. Ooh, it felt like that was a fight that Serral maybe could have taken, but he judges that as a fight that he can take. Lurker position wasn't completely optimal, allowing these Hydras to form a beautiful concave. At the same time though, Serral moving in, couple of overseers here to provide vision. Good abduct as well, as these spores are starting to go down right now. This is actually a pretty scary location that we're in currently. There is a lot of Vipers available for Rogue, and that might make life difficult here for Serral. Here comes 1 abduct against 2 abducts. That's a lot of Vipers going down here on the side of Serral. Serral actually kills nothing, loses absolutely everything. Single parasitic bomb is not going to be enough. This is the first fight that Rogue takes. That felt somewhat okay. A lot of Vipers went down here on the side of Serral. Yep, Viper lost completely even at this point. 10 Vipers get rebuilt immediately though. And more Hydras on the way as well. A little bit of a Viper battle. Some of the final roaches that are still alive are going to be moving towards this top side right now. Curious to see if they will be capable of doing anything whatsoever, or if they're just going to be taken out. If one thing, they do have the function of spotting anything coming over here, as Serral also gets this high ground. So really the key locations on this map currently occupied, at least vision-wise, by Serral. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that Rogue can do anything about it, but this is a good start of an engagement, taking out a lot of these Hydras. There's like 10 Hydras that ended up falling there, and one of these lurkers even manages to get away. Serral is very aware of what is going on over here, so yeah, this feels like a pretty decent situation here for the Finnish Zerg player. So we see a Rogue still trying to keep something of map control. The problem is just going to be this middle base. The moment you lose any type of map control, like this ramp is gone, you're either going to be in trouble on the right side here or on the left side. And I think that is exactly what will be happening right now. Serral moves in and cuts off this position completely. Hydras don't even know where they want to be going. Rogue says, okay, I think I want to go up this ramp, defend my right side base. And this opens the middle base opportunity. And this is going to be an absolute key location here. The same thing can be said about Serral, of course. Though he does have a couple of spores already in position there. Lurkers once again being sent out around the map. So Rogue being very good about this. Just consistently sending out these units around the edges of the map, making sure that Serral is forced away from the middle area, because the middle area is going to be so important. This is opening up some opportunities here though for the blue Zerg player. Ooh, this is an interesting burrow. He's preparing for the fight here. He knows where Serral wants to be going. Takes out one of these Vipers immediately. 2 abducts used on that. Ooh. It was a beautiful changeling that gets taken out here. A couple of these changelings also will need to be taken out. We have another big run by here. This is a pure Hydra army. We still could deal a lot of damage very quickly. Left side base will get taken out there. At the same time, Ling run by. Do these bad boys have Adrenal? Yes, they do. No other upgrades though. Only Carapace upgrades. But with Adrenal, you can still deal a lot of damage. This Hydra run by will take out a single base. So we have these Lings moving in, trying to target down that Lurker. And that's going to go down really fast here. Just does get rebuilt immediately. I wonder what the actual use of that is going to be. Right side base also gets taken out. So Rogue takes out 2 bases and, well, loses a Lurker then and a Hydra then, which of course is painful, don't get me wrong. Losing these buildings sucks for Rogue, but he can rebuild them very quickly. Ooh. This base got taken out, I think, by Lurker sucking on it, no? Probably the case here. Probably the case. So, with a little bit of an oopsie there. Still is some gas in these simulators. There's also a lot of mineral patches actually over here. That base really needs to be rebuilt. It would be silly not to. Because it's a super safe build here. Or a super safe base that can't really be attacked. Serral isn't necessarily running low on money right now. And he has been getting better trades for the majority of this game. However, the last 5 minutes or so, it feels like Rogue kind of... He understands what he needs to be doing a little bit better right now. He's going to be trying to defend this position. No spores here. Lurkers aren't burrowed yet either, but there's only 2 Lurkers here for Serral. Blinding Clouds are being cast as the Vipers are trading places right now. And this fight seems to be another win for the Korean Zerg player here. I kind of need to check the resources lost. It seems like it hasn't changed too much. Currently at about, what is it, 8k difference. I'm just gonna keep a close eye on this. It's really difficult to see what exactly happens in these fights. Just see Vipers flying across my screen, the green clouds being cast on the opponent's army. This Lurker position will not be capable of being broken without the help of Vipers. I do not believe that. I probably should have believed that. It's gonna get broken. And don't even manage to finish my sentence here. This Nidus will most likely not be of any use. It will not get taken out, but it's not that important either. Still have a lot of units available here. Where's this Nidus network actually? Oh, it's over here. We have a lot of units in the main base currently. The one thing that, funnily enough, I didn't think was too useful were these 8 queens, but they're providing huge value here for Serral in A, healing up the buildings, but also healing up the Vipers every single time after a fight, which means that Parasitic Bomb will not quite be as effective in the next fight. So these 8 queens, despite me initially labeling them as useless, actually are serving a great purpose here and have really contributed to the health of Serral's Viper force. Not just energy-wise, but also health-wise. And that can't be understated here, how important these Vipers are. Like, look at Rogue. He has 2 Vipers that are pretty low on health. Parasitic Bomb cast will take them out during the fight. That's just going to be a fact. We have a big army here. Well, big army, a sizable enough army to be capable of breaking some static defense, forcing out something of a response as well out of Rogue. We immediately see a bunch of these Hydras, as well as all of the Vipers, moving towards the right side of the map. This might present an opportunity here for Serral, who starts by moving forward. Sees that there's no Vipers there. Does he want to poke it? No, he doesn't. As this position, actually, Serral's going to keep it. Hydras will get taken out. This hatchery is now in range of the Lurkers as well. We do have a couple of Lurkers on the other side doing the exact same thing. So pretty much mirrored positions here, as both players are kind of afraid to move there. Not wanting to lose the base, but also not wanting to lose the middle area. Serral is already mining from the middle. And I wouldn't mind if Rogue does something similar. Sends a couple of drones there, because this is obviously a key base that is difficult to hold. So you want to be sucking away the resources from there as quickly as you can. You have an interesting little engagement here in the middle. I almost missed that. Oh, I actually did miss that. Lurkers are in position. Here come a couple of abducts. Well, a couple of abducts. Every single overseer is going to get taken out. That means there's no more detection right now here for Rogue. One more overseer very far in the back. These Hydras will take out the 6 o'clock one more time as well. Vipers get pulled in though. It feels like Serral is winning the Viper battle. And overall resources lost have moved slightly into his favor. Or the units lost have. Another hatchery gets taken out. The overall bank though, mineral-wise, is looking fine for Rogue. Gas-wise, perhaps just a little bit less. Lots of Vipers are going to actually fall. Good Blinding Cloud usage as well. These Vipers did get targeted down. Yeah, the unit loss just keeps going up and up here for Rogue. That is usually not the thing that you want to be seeing go up in a game. 6 more Vipers on the way on the side of Rogue. I think it was 7 more actually coming in for Serral. So both players really valuing the Viper. as one of the core units in this army. Usually, of course, used as more of a supportive spellcaster, but in this matchup, it's probably the most valuable unit. Without Vipers, you're not going to be capable of fight whatsoever. Blinding Cloud as well as Abduction. Way too powerful in these Lurker battles. Bottom side base is going to get taken out. This was a ballsy try here out of Rogue, and I do like it. Rogue has been trading worse than his opponent, and that means that he needs to try and start mining a little bit more than his opponent. And he does that by taking these side bases. If he gets mining on at least one of these, while Serral does not get mining, all of the previous trades have been pretty much irrelevant. Because you're just going to be mining more stuff, and that's really the only thing that truly matters. Spores, spines, get taken out here. So Serral kind of continues moving on into this position. At the same time, we have Rogue also moving in forward, wanting to get something done. Will not quite be capable of doing just that. Left side, though, will probably die. Single Lurkers kind of keeping this alive. There's a lot of Queens as well with some Transfuses available. Could get this hatchery. No. Cannot get to the hatchery in time to cast these Transfuses. At least Serral was not quite quick enough there, I think, with the Transfuses. Not the biggest deal, though. A lot of Hydras did end up falling. At the same time, once again, Serral just moving in. Ooh, Spores will start fighting against these Vipers. One Viper ends up falling. The other Viper almost dies, but barely manages to stay alive. Hatchery is going to fall, and I think this is a kind of a breakthrough here, as we also see Rogue almost empty on the gas. And this was one of those bases that actually was providing him with a decent chunk of gas. Right side base also was providing him with a decent chunk of gas. Currently we have, what is this? Well, this is not mining gas, no gas mine here. We only have like 1.5 extractors mining gas for Rogue. While we have, well, what is this? 4. And these are empty at this point. I mean, these can start mining again. We're looking at like 6. And if you count this one as well, it's like 6, 7 extractors really here for Serral. And we can also see it represented in the gas count currently, is that Serral is just doing way better when it comes to that. This is an interesting engagement though, because Serral was not expecting this whatsoever. This is pure Hydra Viper as well. There's almost no Lurkers in this army. And that means that Vipers might get taken out pretty quickly. Ooh, cool move there. Using these Hydras almost like Stalkers trying to snipe Vikings. Instead it's Hydras against Vipers. Of course, Vipers can always abduct the Hydras if they stand a little bit too far forward. There's no way to EMP or feedback these units. So Vipers really remain king over here once again. Rogue is going to move forward. His gas count very little though right now. Very, very little. And he's trying to break his opponent. So far it isn't quite working out. Right side gas needs to start mining. This gas needs to start fully mining as well. Rogue, it's no time to stop that gas income. We need the gas income more than anything at this point. Serral starts marching towards the middle of the map. Once these Lurkers get in position, this could be very tricky here to deal with for Rogue. Lots of blinding clouds going down though. 10, what is this? 13, 15 Lurkers all sieged up over here. The Hydra count is lower than it once used to be. Parasitic bombs dealing a lot of work once again. There's actually no queens for either player right now. That means that every little bit of damage that you deal on these Vipers is going to be practically incapable of being revived. That makes these Vipers so much worse. Look at this. A single parasitic bomb is going to take all of these out. That could be a big issue. That could be a very big issue. Single Lurker over here will deny some mining. There's so many Lurkers. There's literally no Lurkers whatsoever. 55 Hydras. This is the biggest Hydra I've seen in a serious, biggest Hydra count I've seen in a serious game. Usually you don't see that many Hydras because, well, Hydras are not considered to be a great unit in most matchups. However, in ZVZ, they seem pretty darn decent. 55 against 30 Hydras currently. Now, Lurkers will reign supreme over the Hydra force, of course. But it's mostly just going to be about these Viper trades. Problem for Rogue being is that he can't really afford any type of poor Viper trades at this point. Just doesn't have the gas to replenish. Also doesn't really have the queens to replenish the health on these Vipers. Rogue actually losing a lot of Hydras in that little engagement over there, despite it being a small part of Serral's army. These Lurkers are just doing way too much here. Serral starts moving forward as well, wants to be getting into good positions. Roaches being built currently. This is the first time that roaches are being built, and as a result we actually see Glial Reconstitution on the way. Topside base finally gets taken out by that Lurker. The moment you see Lurkers here as Serral, you know that you're in a very winning spot. And you maybe don't actually care too much about being aggressive. You just want good defensive trades, and you actually just want one good trade. That's all you really are going to be needing, because you know you have way more money than your opponent. The Roach is the desperation unit. We see a Rogue looking for a bust, looking for an opportunity to run in, take the engagement that he's been dreaming of, and so far hasn't been capable of getting yet. Viper starting to fly forward right now. There's just 13 Vipers though for Serral against only 6 on the side of Rogue. That means in any moment in which Rogue isn't paying attention, he can just lose like 10 units instantly to these Vipers. That can be any unit. Can be Hydras, can be Roaches, can be Vipers. It doesn't matter. There's no money to replace these. Serral has a single Spore over here pushed forward. It's going to be quite useful. Good position on that first Lurker burrow. More Lurkers are burrowing. Do we have defensive Lurkers? Yes, we do as well. This Roach army is going to get absolutely blasted. Look at that. Paying attention to the minimap to make sure to not miss any fight there. But yeah, oh my god. These Roaches are just falling like flies. That is some crazy damage output there out of these Lurkers. 2 drones go down and like 15 Roaches. Rogue will not be capable of remaxing that easily here. Yep. Just ran out of gas trying to rebuild a lot of Hydras. It's currently on 36 Hydras. So equal Hydra count to his opponent. No Lurkers. And down 7 Vipers as well. This is just awful. At this point, these Vipers could almost start considering taking out drones that are mining. But instead, Serral says, no, I want to get in position, take out this bottom side base once again. Maybe even start pushing on towards the next area. Well, these Lurkers might get abducted in. That is 3, 4. However, here come the abducts out of Serral. Parasitic bombs are being cast as well. And at this point, there's only a single Viper remaining right now for Rogue. And these 2 Vipers are not even going to be dying. Every single Viper of Serral actually is in well, life-threatening danger at this point. 2 of them will get targeted down. More of them could get targeted down here if Rogue gets high ground vision. Isn't quite the case. Rogue actually is trying to break this and doing a pretty decent job as well. There's still a single Viper. If this Viper gets a parasitic bomb and Rogue can just march on, this was not a great fight here for Serral. It feels like there's so many Lurkers being built right now. 12 more Lurkers, 24 more Hydras on the way. Here come a couple of abducts on these Overseers. But yeah, once these Lurkers set up, 2 abducts get cast. But this actually got way closer than I thought it would be. That fight went really, really well for Rogue. Surprisingly so, I have to admit as well. The problem now just being that he's once again trying to remax on Roaches. It's just really not going to work. Serral just been playing a very conservative game as well, a very passive game. Saying, hey, as long as stuff isn't changing, this is going well for me. I've been winning the fights. Why would I want to start expanding to bases that I know I can't keep properly yet? I don't want to. The moment I can keep these bases, I'll start taking them. And the moment has arrived right now. Serral finally starts moving towards one of the more neutral bases. Yeah, GG gets called. Yeah, Rogue just didn't have the units anymore. So, fantastic little long late game between the 2 of the best Zerg players in the world currently. Fantastic stuff to see. Serral just still a little bit too strong in the late game. Has been absolutely dominant in this matchup. When it comes to the late game, just doesn't really seem to lose. That's one of the things that I do remember from back in the day when I think it was Su who managed to beat Serral there. It's great to see Su back. Hopefully he can show us something new. Or not something new, just some high-level Korean ZVZ in the late game. Dark, of course, also very capable of that. And Rogue has said in the past that he's not quite as comfortable in that stage of the game. Did show a decent game here, but not good enough. That's represented in the units lost tab here. Or in this unit's lost tab, whichever one you prefer. Not quite sure what the difference is, but it seems pretty similar. So, alright, that's going to be it for me today. Thanks all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy this game. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Hopefully I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Thank you, and bye-bye.